On the behalf of Ozone Day, in this presentation I am going to explain about ozone layer and Montreal Protocol. What is ozone? It's a colorless, unstable toxic gas having pungent odor and powerful oxidizing properties formed from oxygen by electrical discharge or ultraviolet light. It differs from normal oxygen with having 3 atoms in O3 molecules. What is ozone layer? It's a layer in the Earth's stratosphere containing high level of O3. This layer protects the Earth from the sun's harmful UV radiations by absorbing 97 to 99% of UV rays. Now a question arises, how can ozone be good and bad? Ozone occurs in two layers of the atmosphere. The layer closest to the Earth's surface is the troposphere. Here, ground level or bad ozone is an air pollutant that is harmful to breathe and it damages crops, trees and other vegetations. Bad ozone is a main ingredient of urban smoke. The troposphere generally extends to a level about 6 miles up where it meets the second layer, the stratosphere. The stratosphere or good ozone layer extends upward about 6 to 30 miles and protect life on Earth from sun's harmful UV rays. Next, what is ozone layer depletion? This refers to the thinning of the protective ozone layer in the atmosphere. This happens when certain chemicals come into contact with ozone and destroy it. Ozone depletion also consists of much larger springtime decrease in stratospheric ozone around Earth's polar regions, which is referred as the ozone hole. In this slide, I have put few examples of ozone depleting substances. Examples are chlorofluorocarbon, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, halogens, methyl bromide, carbon tetrachloride, hydrobromofluorocarbon, chlorobromomethane, and methyl chloroform. ODS are generally very stable in the troposphere and only degrade under intense ultraviolet light in the stratosphere. Now we will see what are the effects of ozone layer depletion. First, the effect on human beings. Ozone layer depletion increases the amount of ultraviolet B that reaches the Earth's surface and causes non-melanoma skin cancer and plays a major role in malignant melanoma development. In addition, UVB has been linked to the development of cataract, a clouding of eyes lens, and many more. Effect on biogeochemical cycle. Increase in UVB radiation could affect the terrestrial and aquatic biogeochemical cycle. Effects on biogeochemical cycle. Both terrestrial and aquatic increase due to UVB radiation, thus altering both sources and skin of greenhouse and chemically important trace gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, and possibly other gases. These potential changes would contribute to biosphere atmosphere feedbacks that mitigate or amplify the atmospheric concentration of these gases. Effects on marine ecosystem. It is found that the marine life most affected by ultraviolet B radiation such as algae, corals, fish larvae, and eggs, thereby affecting marine ecosystem from the bottom to the top of the food web. Last is effect on plants. This radiation affects the physiological and developmental process of plants. Nutrients are distributed within the plants and also timing of developmental phases and secondary metabolism and also causes many plant diseases. One of the best example of ozone layer depletion is Antarctic ozone hole. It's one of the deepest and largest gap in the ozone layer in last 40 years. It's rapidly grown and deep peaked at around 24 million square kilometers, one of the largest in early October 2020. It's become the main reason for rising skin cancer and different skin diseases in Antarctica. Rising effect of ozone layer depletion enlightened the government to take some initiative against the ozone depleting substances. One of the best initiative is Montreal Protocol. Ozone layer depletion started from 1970. Montreal Protocol was signed in 1987 but entered into force in January 1989. It was signed to limit the production and use of ozone depleting substances by using alternatives of CFC. It phases down the use of ODS in a stepwise time boundary. It gives different timetables for developing and developed countries. All member parties have specific responsibility related to the phasing out of various group of ODS controlling ODS trade, reporting of data annually, controlling export and import of ODS, etc. Developing and developed countries have equal but differentiated responsibilities. Under the protocol, there is a provision for it to be amended and adjusted according to the new scientific, economic, and technological advancement made. It undergoes 9 amendments or revisions. Government's body for the protocols is meeting of the parties. Technical support is given by the open-ended working groups. Both meet once every year. Party aided by the Ozone Secretariat, which is based at headquarters of the UN Environment Programme at Nairobi. Ratified by 197 parties, 196 member states of the UN plus EV, making the first United Nations Treaty to be ratified by every country in the world. The Montreal Protocol's provisions related to the following articles. Article 2, that is control measures. Article 3, that is calculation of control levels, and many more are there. As the Montreal Protocol was signed on 16 September 1987, on its anniversary, every year 16 September is celebrated as International Ozone Day. Every year it has a theme, and the theme for 2021 is Montreal Protocol, keeping us our food and vaccine cool. So, at last, I want to conclude this presentation by saying that individually we must need to concern about the future generation, and the use of ODS should reduce to save the environment. Thank you.